Hello students, today's topic and also the last topic under decision theory is multi-stage decision making problems. So basically it refers to those problems where the succeeding activities depend on the earlier or initial decisions. Therefore, multi-stage problems are those which involves a sequence of decisions each depending on the preceding one. As more and more succeeding activities come into play, still more and more outcomes become possible and it leads to spreading out of the problem. Therefore, it is beneficial to use a graphical or a visual method so as to eliminate confusion and to provide for a more visual appeal. So, a typical multi-stage problem can be conveniently represented and solved as the spread out branches of a tree, and hence the name decision tree. So, there are three important features of a decision tree. The first and foremost is the decision node. It is that node or the joint or the fork where the decision maker has to take a decision among many alternatives. The second one is known as the chance node, where the events or the states of nature are branched out. This node is beyond the control of the decision maker. He can only see the possible events that can play out as a result of a earlier decision. So the decision maker has no control over this node. He can only see the various possible outcomes. Fine. Therefore, decision tree is a graphical representation of the sequence of all the action event combination available to the decision maker. The decision tree will generally start from the left and end towards the right. The solution to the decision tree is got by rollback technique, which is solving in a backward manner from the end towards the beginning. The logic of the decision trees may be roughly compared to the scene from the movie Avengers Infinity Wars, where Doctor Strange goes forward in time, sees all the possible outcomes, and strives to achieve the most favorable one. So, you all know, I hope you all know the scene in which he goes forward in time, sees 14,605 possible outcomes, and then tells that we have only one favorable outcome of winning this war. But the question that I want to ask is that how did he know about which outcome was favorable? So obviously he would have looked for that ending where Thanos was defeated or turned to dust, and then see the earlier course of actions he needed to take right till the present moment. So that is how he might have arrived at the favorable path or the outcome. So that is exactly what we are going to do in decision trees. We play out or chalk all the possible scenarios and find out which ending is the most beneficial one. And from there we slowly inch towards the initial decision so as to get the complete path for the most favorable outcome. So that is the methodology of decision tree in a nutshell. Next we see the steps for solving a decision tree problem. The steps are very important. I want you to understand the steps as it is. So the first step is going to be constructing the decision tree. But under that general step, there are going to be many sub steps or activities which we need to follow in the given sequence. So the first one is read the full question thoroughly until you understand the question, because this is one problem where you cannot solve without understanding the question. So unless you understand the question, you won't be able to solve. Even if you try to solve, you will end up getting the wrong answer. So that is the first one. And most importantly, understand the sequence of action. That is, which one is the first course of action and what are the actions that are coming after the initial action. So understanding the sequence of actions is also very important. So the third point is understanding which decisions are within your control and which decisions are not. In fact, it can be told like understanding where we need to draw the decision nodes and where we need to draw the chance node. And the fourth point is writing the probability and the payoffs associated with each course of action appropriately. So all the payoffs and the probability should be appropriately listed in the decision tree. Step 2 is computing the expected payoff, moving from the end towards the beginning at each decision node. This is very important. We need to consider only the decision nodes because that is the fork or the joint where we are going to take a decision that will affect the succeeding activities. So we are computing the expected payoff only at each decision node. So under that, the first step will be to draw the decision node evaluation table for each decision node. When we solve the problem, it will be more clear to you how to draw a decision node evaluation table and how to compute the payoff. And it must be well understood by you now that in case of profit, we are looking for maximum payoff. Then another point is that we have to strike off the rejected course of action. That is, if we are looking at a problem based on profit, we are going to select the course of action that is giving the maximum payoff or maximum profit. So we are striking out all the other rejected course of action to avoid confusion. Now the step 3 is move towards the preceding decision node and repeat step 2. Fine. And the final step or the step 4 is when you reach the first decision node, the course of action which yields the maximum payoff in case of profit will be clear to you, and that will be the answer, or that should be the path which the decision maker needs to take so as to achieve the most favorable outcome. Now we will try to understand a solved example. So this example is actually related to that of an oil company which recently acquired a piece of land, and the company now wants to find out the most favorable course of action so as to get the maximum profit. So that is the summary of the problem. We will see how to solve the problem stepwise. So the first step is actually constructing of the decision tree, and in fact that is the most difficult part of the problem. Once your decision tree is correct and completely constructed, the rest of the steps are going to be pretty much straightforward and easy. So let's start. First step is going to be construction of the decision tree. So as I told earlier, read the question thoroughly. Now what we are looking for is, I'll try to ask some questions and we will try to solve the problem by finding out the answers for those questions. Okay, so the first question is, initially or at the outset, the company has how many options? So we should try to find out the answer for this question. Initially the company has how many options? So this should be what you should be looking at in each problem. How many decisions or how many options does a company have at the beginning stage, initial stage? Fine. So by reading through the question, you will find out at this critical point that the company has 3 options before it. You can read also at the outset, the company has the choice to conduct further geological tests. So that is one option, carrying out testing, or to carry out a drilling program immediately. So that is another option. We have 2 options. So are there only 2 options? No, there is another option, as we will see in the below paragraph. If no tests are undertaken, the company could still pursue its drilling programs, or alternatively consider selling its rights to drill in the area. So actually we have 3 options before us. The first one is to directly drill the land to search for oil, or the second option is to test the land before drilling, and the third option is to sell the land to some other company. Okay, fine. So the second question I want to ask is, if the company goes for survey and testing, what are the possible outcomes? And is it a decision node or is it a chance node? Okay, so while reading, you can find out that if the company goes for testing, then there's a 70 to 30% chance that the test might be successful. That you can understand if you read the underlined line. Okay, fine. So the next part of the question is whether it is a chance node or whether it is a decision node. So ask yourself, at this point, are you able to, or is the decision maker in control of the situation? You are going for testing. Now, is it in our control that the test is going to be successful or a failure? It's not in our control, isn't it? So that is obviously going to be a chance node. Okay, fine. Now the third question I want to ask is, after the tests are conducted, what are the options available to the company? Okay, so that is also given as whether the tests show success or not, the company could still pursue its drilling operation, or it can alternatively consider selling its right to drill in the area. So whether the tests turn out to be positive or negative, the company has two options before it. One is it can continue with the drilling operation, or it can sell its drilling right to some other company. So that are the two options available, whether regardless of the outcome of the testing. So the fourth point, the fourth question, it's not a question, it's actually the fourth point I want to tell you is that we have to write out the possibilities as well as the payoff of all the outcomes. So that we can find out by while reading the highlighted area. So for the initial test, there is a 70-30 chance of success and failure that we have to write in the decision tree. And also the 80-20 percentage for 55 to 45% probability. These all we have to write appropriately at the decision tree. So we will see that while we construct the decision tree. Okay. Okay, so this is actually how we are going to construct the decision tree, or this is how the constructed or the final decision tree actually looks like. But we will try to construct it again. Okay, I'll be asking the same question again. The first question was, initially at the outset, the company has how many options? So we had said that the company has 3 options. So that is what is shown in red lines. The company has the option to drill, it has the option to test, it has the option to sell. See the drilling option. If the company goes for drilling, then there is a chance that it can turn out to be successful or it can turn out to be failure. So whether that is within the control of decision maker? No, it is beyond the control of decision maker. So that is a chance node, and that is why it is given as a circle. So the probability of failure and success is given in the table. You can refer and construct it as such, and the payoff values are also given in the table. Okay. Now concentrate on the testing option. If the company goes for this is where I am going to ask the second question. If the company goes for testing and surveying, what are the possible outcomes, and is it a chance node or a decision node? So if the company goes for testing, obviously the test can be successful or failure, but that is going to be represented as blue lines. The company has a favorable chance of 70% success and a unfavorable probability of 30%. Okay, so after the tests are conducted, what are the options before the company, or what are the options available to the company? So this is the third question. So that we had already seen, the company again has 2 options, either to drill regardless of the test results, or they can sell their drilling rights to other company. The payoff values are all given in the table. Okay. So what we have to do is that once we have constructed the decision tree, see, after the drilling operation, again there is a chance of failure and success. So the probability are given in the table. You just understand that these are all chance nodes, and I am talking about these. These are all chance nodes. The probability of failure and success is given in the table in the question. So you write the branches, note down the probability of failure, success, and the payoff values. Okay. So hopefully I think that you are able to construct this decision tree correctly. Okay. So the next question was actually write down the probabilities and payoff of all the possible outcomes, and it is shown in orange. So we have to write down all the values. That is pretty straightforward. Now notice that do you see this sign of a magnifying glass? So what I want you to understand is that at those chance nodes and the decision nodes, once you find out the value, once you find out the payoff values at these nodes, I want you to write down those values inside those nodes. It is actually going to help you eliminate the mistakes, or there is a chance that you might end up making some mistakes. So it will be beneficial if you write down the selected payoff value inside the chance nodes as well as the decision nodes after you evaluate them. So this is all about constructing the decision trees. The next step is computing the expected payoff at each decision node, moving from right to left. That is, starting from the latest decision node and ending at the initial decision node. So for this problem, we actually have two decision nodes, nodes 2 and 1, which are parallel and having the same importance. So in case of a tie, you can select either of these two decision node. But suppose if there had been one more decision node at this point, then obviously you would have to take this node. But since there is no node like that, it's fine. In case of a tie, you can select any one of the decision node. Okay. So we are going with decision node 1. So at decision node 1, we actually have two alternatives. One is drilling even after the test result turns out to be negative, or we are selling the land to some other company. So if we are going for drilling operation, in spite of the negative test results, the chances of success is only 20% and the chances of failure is 80%. Fair enough. Okay. So what we are going to do is that we are going to find out the expected payoff under drilling. Understand that I told earlier, for decision trees we will be using the expectation principle, or the second principle under risk, EMV criterion. So we will be using that. So we will be finding out the cumulative sum of the product of probability and the conditional value. So that is what we are going to get. Drilling 0.2 into 100 plus 0.8 into minus 50, because it's a loss. In the question they are given losses as inside bracket. So for the sake of simplicity, I would suggest that you directly put it as negative value so as to avoid confusion. So finally you are going to get minus 20, or a loss of 20. If we go forward with the option of selling the land, we are going to get a profit of 15 million, which is the most favorable outcome in this decision node, because the other option of drilling is going to give a loss of 20 million and selling the land is going to give a favorable payoff of 15 million. So what are the conclusions, or what should we do after finding out the favorable outcome? First of all, we should write the value of the payoff in the chance node as well as the decision node. So put negative sign if it is loss. See, the results of drilling give a loss of 20 million, isn't it? So that we should write there. And here I forgot, you can write 15. To understand that, we are going to select the option of selling the land over drilling. So when the test results turn out to be negative, the maximum payoff which we can get is by selling the land, which is going to be 15 million. And we should strike off the option that is rejected, that is drilling in this case. So that is all we need to do. So moving to the next decision node, that is decision node 2. Here also we have two options, selling and drilling. So the selling option, this is actually when the test results turn out positive. So the first option of selling the land will give a profit of 65 million. But if we go for drilling, we can find out that we are going to get a profit of 70 million, which is more than what we get by selling the land. So our option or our preferable choice should be to drill if the test result turn out positive. Okay. So what we are going to do is that we are going to write down the payoff value in the chance node as well as the decision node. We are going to, the expected payoff for drilling is 70 million and selling is 65 million. So you can compare and see that drilling offers the best choice, and you can write down this language. I'm sorry for the poor writing, but I hope you understand. We have to write the value which we select in the decision node, 70 million. Fine. And we have to strike off the rejected course of action, which is selling in this case. Okay. So the next decision point is fortunately the initial decision node. So at the initial decision node, we have three options. The first one is drilling, shown by the blue arrow. So drilling has a success and failure of 55% and 45% respectively. So when we solve that, we get the expected payoff value as 48 million. Now going forward to the testing option, you must understand that we had already written this value inside the decision node before. So what we have to do is that we again have to calculate the expected payoff value, that is 0.7 into 70 plus 0.3 into 15, and that will give you the value as 53.5, which you have to write at this chance node. So if you are going for testing, you will get a cumulative or conditional or expected payoff value of 53.5 million. Now if you are going for selling, which is shown by the green arrow, you are going to get a output of 45 million. So compare these three values, which is the most favorable one. It is obviously going for testing, isn't it? Because you are going to get the maximum value there, 53.5 million. So now everything is clear. So the initial decision will be to test before drilling, and on testing, if the result is positive, drilling should be undertaken to get a profit of 70 million. But if the test results turn out negative, the exploitation rights should be sold to get a profit of 15 million. So this is how your final answer should be. If the question is like, what should be the possible course of outcome or course of action to be chosen by the company, this sentence should be there in such a way that all the details are clearly mentioned. Okay, fine. So that is about decision tree. I have solved some exercise problems and I will be sharing that with you so that you can have an understanding of the topics. In addition to that, I expect all of you to solve the practice problems from Endivora, and also if time permits you can solve the practice problems from operations research by Dr. R.K. Gupta, so that you are able to gain mastery over these topics. These topics are very much important for your end semester exam, and I expect all of you to solve the problems correctly. Kindly don't make careless mistakes and throw away your marks. These are the reference books I followed for preparing this video lecture, and thank you.